Loud. So now you know officially this meeting is being recorded. You guys, welcome, welcome, welcome to this week's Playing to Win. So excited about our guests today. Great energy, smart young men that two young men that I really admire and adore. And I love watching their journey and I love being a little tiny piece of it. Of what they're doing out there. So we're going to go a little off track on different conversations. You know, every week the guest takes us to a different place on what playing to win looks like. So it doesn't have to stay in the real estate space. We can go other places too if we want to touch on maybe some of the investing or other things like that too, Diego. And also Andre, with you being like so new to the business and doing so well, like I want you guys to share some of that. So we'll go different avenues with us, okay?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Well, let's get started. Okay, so welcome my two guests. So guys, my name is Melanie Kenneman. If you don't know me, I assume that you do, but I get to work with extraordinary talent. And so I love every week that I get to do this. So I asked Diego Corzo and Andres Bustamante today to be the guests because they really stand out for me. Diego, both of them are on the Nino team, who's amazing, who has amazing talent, right? And actually that team was #1 in GCI and units for our entire North Market Center, which is extraordinary. So, you know, you guys were a big part of that. Diego, you did over, you know, I know you didn't do the volume, but it was over 56 units, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
for people,
56
right?
homes.
56 homes that you helped people buy or sell with. That's extraordinary. And so what I want to start with is Diego, maybe you introduce yourself, and then Andres, I want you to talk about your story a little bit and how long you've been in the business, and also how you guys got connected. I think is really cool. So before we jump into the playing to win conversation, let's just do some intros. So Diego, you
Yeah,
start.
yeah, for sure. Well, my name is Diego. I've been part of the KW office since I became an agent back in 2014. I got my license in April,
Okay.
which is actually like, what is that, like almost 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I started working part-time while I was a software developer at General Motors. And the reason why I got into real estate was because I wanted to learn how to start investing in the Austin market. I was like, well, if I'm going to be buying a couple of homes a year, I might as well become an agent and see if I want to do this. That's when I met uh, that's when I met LC. I met with Victor. They became my mentors. And fast forward like a couple of months later, I told Victor, I'm like, hey, it looks like I want to do this, but can you mentor me? I drove him around for a couple of weekends. That's when I was like, I can do this. This is going to be a lot of fun because I didn't know anybody in Austin. I didn't know the Austin market. But then fast forward to 2015, I quit my job and I began doing this full time. And I built the business similar to how Andres has built it too. And with Victor, we built it just through referrals. And that's been the most fun because I've been helping out my friends. Um, I'm helping them get started just like I got started through investing in a way through something called house hacking. And now fast forward a couple of years later, um, we were the #1 team. When I joined the team, we were number 11, then went to number 7, then 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's been pretty awesome. Uh, seeing
Congratulations.
see, seeing that growth. And yeah, and I know that Andres he definitely helped us get there. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Last year.
I want to come back to hacking in a little bit. So
Yeah.
we're going to pause that because people are probably like, what is that? Right. And I want them
Yeah.
to know more about that. Andres, introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate you, Melanie. You are so awesome.
Oh,
So, background on me, I went to UT Austin, repping the shirt right here.
woohoo.
I I'm from El Paso, Texas, currently 25 years old. So I started doing real estate when I was 19. And it was really because I didn't like my parents having to pay for my college. So I was kind of like, you know what? How can I find a way to pay for my own college and my housing and whatnot? Real estate came up, got my license when I was 19. Then I graduated when I was 23, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I decided that I didn't want to stick to leasing. I wanted to do the real estate
Locating,
sales
right?
side.
You were doing like apartment
Yes,
locating, like all through
apartment
college, apartment. Yeah.
apartment locating through college.
Yeah.
All through
Okay.
college, and I got to do a sale when I was 20 downtown, $1 million condo. That was amazing. But I didn't really even know what like an HOA was back then. So I partnered with someone, and he was the one that really kind of educated me on my first ever sale. And then I knew that I wanted to be on a team, a great team, and I stumbled upon Diego Corzo's Bigger Pockets podcast because I'd listen to podcasts every morning when I did my morning ritual type of thing to wake up in the morning and then meditate and whatnot. Listen to Diego's podcast. I reached out to him, and Diego was like, when I called him, he was like, "Hey, I'm busy right now." That's kind of how he would weed people out. And he was like, "Call me next week." So I did call him the next week. And long story short, he liked my goals and whatnot. And we joined, I joined his team. Him
Yeah.
and Victor have been amazing. Elsie as well. Everyone. I've been with them ever since March, I believe, March of last year.
Yeah. Yeah. March of like right when COVID was hitting,
I
right?
know.
Right.
It's pretty insane.
Right when COVID was hitting. And I remember then, and I came full time on July 1st. And I remember you were one of the first people that were like, okay, what's it take to be this? And what's it take to be this? And I'm like, who's this guy? I like him. And I already knew Diego, right? I already knew Diego and Elsie and Victor pretty well. But it was like, who's this young whippersnapper partnering up? So I did not know you did that $1 million condo, by the way, downtown.
Awesome.
So that's pretty cool. But to think, I just want to say that that's pretty cool is like, you're in college, you're 19 years old, and you're like, you know what, I think I want to pay for this myself. I don't want to be a burden to my parents. So what kind of income can I create for myself? And Diego has a similar story where he has been, finding ways to generate income from a very, very young age. And I think, we had Jay Papazan yesterday at our Austin North team meeting talking about wealth, right? And people don't look at investing as really a means for financial, freedom or whatever you want to call it, right? And I think, Diego, you've been a great person standing out in that. And Andres, the fact that you listen to that podcast, so it's the deeper pockets, right?
Bigger pockets.
Bigger pockets. I always
Pockets.
mess that up.
As long as it has a pockets.
Hey, I'm
That's
thinking
good
deeper,
when you
right?
say-
I'm thinking deeper.
I think that's
pockets.
better. That might be better.
I want to change his name, but anyway, so Bigger Pockets. And then I listened to that podcast too. If you guys not listened to it, it's the interview with Diego Corzo. And then what I love about it is you picked up the phone and you made that connection. And how many people would even do that, right? How many people would listen to somebody that they're like, that I want to learn from that guy, right? And then actually reach out and look at the partnership you guys have now created, that you work so collaboratively. So I just want people to listen to that, because we're talking about playing to win, and playing to win is all about your mindset, right? And so what I want to hear from you guys, because obviously you guys are doing a great job at what you do and in life, in my opinion, and at a very young age. Tell me from whoever wants to start, what does playing to win look like for you guys?
Andres, you can go first if you want, because right now, for example, Andres, really quick, just so that everybody hears. So, Andres, how many homes did you close last year?
As in, like, from March to March, it was 26 total. 16 were from my clients, and then 9 were from leads that you guys shared with me.
Yeah. And how many homes do you have under contract now?
21 right now, and 10 closed since March.
So 2021. So playing to win. I wanted to start with him from that perspective, and then work your way backwards. So feel free to go first, Andres.
Holy
Okay,
moly, I'm
thanks,
so
Diego.
glad you did that. Thank you, Diego. That was so good. So good.
Thanks, Diego. Appreciate it. Teamwork, Air 5.
Teamwork. Cool.
So, for me, playing to win, really, it starts with yourself. So what has helped me out a lot is when really Diego, Victor, and all of them started telling me about mindset and talking to me about that. I read The Power of Now, and then I read The Miracle Morning, and I knew to be the best possible version for my clients, I needed to be at peace with myself, So, and it's still a day-to-day thing, So I really think The Miracle Morning has helped me out a lot. And then the people that I surround myself with nowadays, since I started full-time real estate when I was 23 or 24. So it's been just a year, and it's important to have those people. So, I mean, I think my Miracle Morning has helped a lot. I wake up at 4:45, I work out, I meditate, I do affirmations, visualize, I scribe, which means like writing things down, like for example today. And then I also write like what I'm grateful for. Then I wrote down, I visualized this interview, it being a great interview, and kind of like it's pretty crazy, but like on my goals, it's like have a great interview with Melanie and have a great time. And I'm gonna check that off once we finish, because that's how I visualized it. So I think having that miracle morning has helped me out a lot. And then also just telling stories, facts tell, stories sell. So with telling a story to where people can relate and really narrowing down kind of the niche of house hackers and people that are 20 to 35 years old, that I feel has helped me out a lot, to where people reach out specifically because it's like, we know this is your niche and your story can relate. So let's reach out to Andres or Diego or even Victor, or Elsie.
I love that. I love that. Now you mentioned Miracle Morning, and I know, Diego, you're good friends with Hal as well. I just want to mention, for those of you that are listening that don't know who that is, Hal Elrod wrote a book. Actually, Diego, do you even know how many he's done? I mean, I think there's over 50 versions of that book. There's Miracle Morning for salespeople, for whatever, you name it. And I know that, David Osborne co-wrote one with him as well. But it's all about starting your day with the right mindset, right? And so waking up early and practicing your quiet time, your reflection, visualization, body movement, all of these things. And actually your miracle morning starts the night before by going to bed early, right? So you can get a good night's sleep. And all of that it sets your energy for the day. And we've had Hal come do some KW Cares stuff for us. He's such a big hearted guy who lives in Austin. So if you guys have not read that book, that is a great, you can follow him all kinds of ways, but Hal Elrod is a great person to talk about that. And he's got a great story if you want to check that out. So thank you for bringing that up. I love that. That's great. And Andres, someday my goal is to say your name as cool as you say it. Andres.
We can practice. Every time I see you in the office, we'll practice.
Okay, help me with that, okay? Because I want to say it like you say it. Okay, Diego, what does playing to win look like for you?
Yeah, playing to win for me, again, it does have to do with a mindset, but the actions need to follow it, right? A lot of people, maybe they have the right mindset, they have the right intentions, but they don't have the discipline. They might get motivated, but they don't have the discipline, because real estate is not easy, right? Like everybody knows this on the call. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of things. I mean, I just went through my hardest deal of my life that I was telling you about. Yeah. But we won, right? At the end of the day, we were able to save that deal. But at the end of the day, I feel like it has to do with the mindset that one has, that especially for us, we're not doing it for the money, we're doing it to help other people, and other people see that. And it's the energy that we put out there that, fortunately, because of the way that we share our stories, just like Andres was talking about, it attracts the right clients and the right people into our lives. And I feel like that for us has worked really well as we've built our business through referrals, because then it's more, we're helping other people. They get to share how great the experience was. We really care about people, and then it goes from there. Yeah. And also, I feel using the right resources to attract the right audience, not the right audience, but the right clients into our lives, right? So we've used social media really well, I believe, so far, especially as we're helping the millennials, the Gen Y, I guess would be a little bit younger. But at the end of the day, it's like attracting those people into our lives. And I feel like it's really important to, it's not like we're salespersons. I see myself, and with Andres too, we're more educating people, right? We're educating people on how they can get started. And it makes it a huge different way, where we're not here to close you. It's like, you either want to work with us or you don't. Like we've had a couple of interviews from people that are like, hey, we're talking to other agents that we met through Bigger Pockets as well. But it's more like, once they have a call with us and we're like, look, we provide all this value, we have all of this experience, and they're like, oh, it's a no-brainer.
Right. That's amazing. Would you say, what percentage do you think of your business comes from like millennials and Gen Y?
Andres, yours is how much?
Mine is like, I would say maybe like 90%.
Oh, it's high. It's really high for you,
Yeah.
Andres. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
mine
most,
has mine has switched a bit.
Okay.
Before it was sort of like that 90.
Okay.
Now it's been more referrals, investors, people in GoBundance that are moving to Austin, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that comes with years in the business, right? You're kind of, you
Hmm.
grow into a larger kind of group of people. One thing I will touch on though is you mentioned GoBundance, and that is
Hmm.
a really cool community that is created by some really cool people. And early on for you, just like Andres reminds me of, is you've really reached out to people you respected. It wasn't that like a group that you had to be a millionaire or something like that to
Hmm.
be in the group, and somehow you found a way to get in there before you actually were a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. And I was one, just like Andres reached out to me, I sort of sent out an email and I talked to this random guy that I had no idea who he was. But he invited me to go over to a retreat at a house. It happened to be Osborne's house. I had no idea. And then they gave me a great opportunity. I was 23 years old. And that's why when I met Andres, he's like, "Hey, I'm 23 years old. I have all these goals." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to help you out." So that's how it happened.
Wonderful. That I love that. I love that. But it's that to me is all playing to win, because you guys are like looking to who can I learn from, who inspires me, and then reaching out. And so many people are inspired by so many people and don't reach out. Like I got a call yesterday from a team leader in Utah that's like, "Hey, I hear you're the person to talk to about this. Can you just call me for whatever?" And I called him. We had a great talk on the way home. And I probably had more fun in that conversation than he did, right? But he reached out. Of course, I'm going to get back with him, right? And you're, but so many people don't do that. So for me, playing to win is who are you learning from, and who are you reaching out, and what opportunities are you creating by reaching your hand out. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, well, let's talk about the real estate market right now, and then I would love to talk a little bit about the house hacking and stuff like that. What do you think you have to do differently right now, because we're in a competitive market now? Andres, I know this is like, it's what you know. So what an awesome gift for you, because that's like when I started, I didn't know any better and the market was completely crashing, and that's all I knew, right? So let's start with Diego, because you've felt the shift of the high competitive. What do you feel like agents have to do differently today that they maybe didn't even have to do a year ago?
Yeah, one of the main things is educating the potential buyers, especially if they're working with the buyers, that they do need to be ready to waive appraisals at certain times
Right,
and pay over, and just be ready, like be hopeful that the property might appraise, like the market might catch on,
right,
and then, but if not, just have the cash available. The other thing is, if they're sometimes I've had the conversation that we don't know where the market is going to continue to go for sure. But if you're not going to be able to buy now, by the time that September comes or something, you might be tapped out. So
right.
we can either help you now, and you can say, "Hey, let's try this right now," just because of the way that the market is. Because next year it might be, now with the median price being at 550 or 590 in Austin, um, it's just, it might go up to 6 after the summer or more,
Right.
right? So it's just educating the right people and letting them know that they do have to be ready to waive appraisal.
Yeah. I feel like there is definitely more educating going on than you needed previously. Andres, now you've seen, it kind of evolve. Yeah, I mean, you've been in real estate longer than that, right? But really on the resale side, you started right when COVID shuts us down. What are you finding that you have to do differently today than a year ago?
well, I mean, with this, I was kind of all over the place at first, and then I found out that I needed to really niche down to the ideal clients that I wanted and what would be my sources to attract those clients. So I figured it's sphere of influence through podcasts and through social media. So I have my ideal avatar, and whenever I post any content, it's tailored towards those people. And it's always about educating and just the right expectations, what's expected, and not really telling people, but asking the right questions so that they themselves can have that answer for themselves. So with this, I mean, it's pivoting, finding ways to, instead of having to compete, maybe you just put a deposit with a builder.
Yeah.
So what ways can you give them, your clients, that competitive edge? So I mean, if you try your best, you at least know that you tried your best and
Yeah.
looked at all the avenues, as opposed to maybe just being like, you know what, we could have done this, but I didn't really figure it out. Once you try your best, you're content with what you gave the client, you know?
Right. I love that. I want to go a little off the questions if you don't mind, because I want to go into the house hacking a little bit before we open up to other people. So you both work with different investors too, right? I know that Diego does, and Andres, you do as well. So now can you explain to us what is house hacking? What is that?
Yeah, house hacking is it's a way to start investing in real estate for people that may not have that 20% down to put into a property. Very simply is you can use an owner occupant loan to buy a duplex, triplex, or quadplex, live on one side, rent out the other, an FHA loan. Or the way that I got started is I bought a single family home with a 5% conventional loan, lived in the master, and rented out each rooms, living for free. And then the good thing with an owner occupant loan is that you can do that every year or every 2 years. Very easily, you can go up to 4 properties like that. So instead of saving $40,000 to put 20 or $60,000 now to put money down on a $300,000 home and then try to save that again to buy another investment, you just keep the first one as a rental and you move on to the next one. That's how I got started when I bought my first house hack when I was 24. And Andres has done that too. He bought his house last April and now he's under contract on another one.
Woohoo!
And we'll be doing the same thing in 2022.
I love that. Okay, so because I hadn't heard that before, and that's what I sent to my sons to listen to, because I thought that was so smart. I mean, people, if they don't know your story, they should also look you up. You've got a great TED talk that you've done about the dreamers and all this stuff. Growing up, moving, you grew up in the States, but being in this weird program where everything was harder for you, right? And I love just your mindset of playing to win. So but when you explain that, you're living in one and then you're renting out the others. I was just consulting with an ALC member yesterday, and he does short-term rentals in his house. He has
Yeah.
since 2015.
Yeah.
And it's just the Airbnb or whatever, right? And he just rents it, and he has 2 rooms he rents out. And he said, we love having the people come and go. I'm like, see, I would never think of that. Right. But if it's the way, but I also have a house full of people, right?
Yeah.
Teenagers and all that stuff. So when you have kids in the home, it could be a little different. But I understand that as a person with no children at home and all that, what a way to increase revenue. And so I hadn't heard that till you said that then you would get another one and rent out, and you lived there for free.
Most of the
Yeah.
time. Right now, the expectations in Austin, so maybe you'll break even or you'll be paying some money out of pocket, but really the metric that you want to see, because if you're buying as an investment property, meaning that you won't live in it for minimum a year, that's 20% down.
Yeah.
If you live in the home for a year as a first time home buyer, you can do 3% down. Anytime thereafter, it's 5%. So really the way you break down your return on investment, if you're living in the home, your rent savings, because you're essentially not paying rent anymore,
Yeah.
equity pay down, cash flow, if any, and the tax benefits.
Yeah.
So it's really about the return on investment. What return on your investment are you getting with the lower interest rate if you live there, as opposed to if it's an investment property, 20% down, where your return is really, maybe it's depreciation and some cash flow.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good. And then so how many properties, because Diego, then you've also gone into other markets as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, I own about 25 doors around the US. Gatlinburg, I own 15 Airbnbs. I'm under contract on a 16-unit apartment building in Augusta, Georgia, with a few other
Wow.
partners.
Wow, nice.
Hopefully closing in a month. So yeah. And then I own a quadplex in McAllen too that we just closed on. I did a 1031 exchange. But everything started with my first house hack kind of thing, right?
Right.
And living below my means, saving a lot, and knowing that if I'm able to generate, one of the reasons why I went into real estate too was because the unlimited potential of earnings, right? I was a software developer, I had a salary, but when you can go and I know my work ethic, I'm like, look, if I can work, deliver, help out as many people as I can, then I can get a big reward. And that's what started to happen. And I was able to have the mindset of seeing the money that I was making as my employees and not raising my lifestyle as much, and then and investing the rest.
I love that. And you know what, Jay, we were talking about that with Jay, is that people earning and wealth are not the same, right? Like, you know, the guy's driving the Porsche down the street, you have no idea if he,
Mhm.
you know, where he lives, what he has, right? And then you see some guy in a beat up truck and you make a judgment on them, and he's the guy that has millions and millions and millions of dollars, right, in
Mhm.
different properties. So it's really this whole living, but within your means or way under your means, I think is key. And I think it's something that we're not taught that in school. It's a life lesson that you learn. And so I think you've done such a great job by doing, you know, you started with that one house, and then it became bigger, and now you're looking at 16 unit whatevers, and you know, you're all over, because it's the same game, it's just you're thinking now bigger about it, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, did you honestly believe that when you were starting out, how big that this could possibly get? And I know you're not anywhere near capacity right now, you're just starting.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been really cool to see that growth, and especially in being able to see what happens, like the people that have gotten into my life because of those things, right? I mean, at the end of the day, and one of the things for people here too, when you're playing to win in a market like freaking Austin, because it has changed so much since January.
Yeah,
It's been more building relationships with
yeah.
other people, going above and beyond. Like Andres goes above and beyond with the builders.
Mm,
Like he gives them gifts and all this other stuff. And so, but that is what sometimes allows us to win some homes, that like to get a little bit more information,
right.
right? It's not like we're like bribing them or anything.
No, it's building
Uh,
relationships. It's just building relationships. That's
yeah,
it's brilliant. Absolutely.
yeah,
You're taking time to do that. And so I don't know about you, but if I have 20 offers on a table and I have relationships with two of those people, and I know that they are professional and they show up, I'm going to tell the clients, you know, these are all, we're going to look at every offer, but all I can say is these two guys here, I know that they do what they say, and they're going
exactly.
to come through for. So that's playing to win. Okay, Andres, how about you? Since you're not as long in the business, how have you managed to have that? How do you have 21 pennies right now? Like, how are you creating that kind of business into your life? Because you hear a lot of people are either having their best lives right now in real estate, or they're not selling anything because they're just throwing their hands up saying it's too hard. My buyers are getting burnout or whatever. And so much of that is, I think, our piece of that. So tell us what are you doing to attract that kind of business in your world?
Well, it's really the niche, and also the fact that I talk a lot about new builds. A lot of the ones that I have under contract are new builds, and I've already developed a great relationship with the builders. And I did my like very big due diligence. So when I do my buyer consultation, I know right away what my clients want based on the questions that I ask. And then from there we go see maybe three builds, and then from there they're happy with one of those or two of those.
Yeah, that's
And I
amazing.
mean the team as well. Diego, Victor, LC, Juan, everyone has been amazing. So obviously I couldn't have done it without the team, because that helps me a lot, like a lot, just with everything, coordinating, and then
Yeah,
asking for advice for
yeah.
the first year. And obviously right now still I always ask Diego and Victor for advice, and Juan is always helping. So it's
Well, I
been
think that's
great.
such a nice partnership. So what are you seeing with builders? If you're working with so many builders, Andres, like, because we were hearing all kinds of different things that, and this is not to talk about any company or anything, but you know, some of them don't really want to pay commissions, we're hearing, and some are in bidding wars. Are you finding ones that just, like, how are you helping your clients win with builders then? I mean,
Yeah, I
is it
mean
bidding,
the
or is it not that way?
to tell you the truth, like the commission is important, but I'm not joking when I say like I care way more about my clients. I kid you not, I like hardly ever ask for the commission. And I know Leonard did 1%. I don't care if Leonard does 1%. If my clients are happy, that's what makes me happy. And like 100%, I'll show my clients anything. If I was a builder, I mean, with so much demand, at least they're working with us, they probably don't even need to work with
Yeah,
agents. The thing is, it's really, what does my client want? That's what I'll get them. I don't, if they don't pay commission, well, that would suck, but I'll still show it to them. They will pay commission though. I mean, they'll still work with us because they know that, I mean, this isn't sustainable
Right, exactly. And
to a
it's
certain point, to a certain point.
and it was funny because you know, when the flip side of this is when nothing's selling, then that relationship will be rebuilt again. So it's kind of interesting to see it from a different perspective. But are you seeing multiple offer situations and stuff like that at builders?
Depends on the builder. So DR Horton does do multiple offers. Taylor Morrison, Toll Brothers do like a lottery system. It really depends on what builders. Lennar, they do earnest deposits. Easton Park, earnest deposits as well.
Yeah.
Really depends what builder you work with.
Right, right. So because you're saying you're getting, I mean, if of a lot of your 21 pendings, I know that the new builds aren't as easy to get. So that's why I was curious on how that's working, because I know it's much more competitive than it's been ever been. So
Oh yeah.
cool. That okay, so let's talk about like buyer to seller ratios, you know, like sellers. Now, Andres, I think you're pretty heavy buyer side, right? With because
Very heavy. I've
generation,
not,
it's pretty all buyers, right?
yeah, on my own, I haven't done a listing. I've done listings with like Diego and Victor, but on my
Okay.
own, it's all buyers.
It's coming. That'll be the next evolution. All
Yes,
these people you're putting in homes.
it
How
is.
about you, Diego? What's your ratio of buyers to sellers these days?
I'm mostly on the buying side.
Okay.
Last year, it was more like 60, 40% were more on the selling side.
Okay.
But this year so far has been people that reached out, like building referrals and all of that stuff. Like, for example, one of the great things that has happened is that by me being part of other groups on Facebook or mastermind groups or whatever, I get calls from other agents, especially a lot of people moving to Austin, is sort of like getting those referrals. And sometimes you're like, hey, I work for Apple in California. I might be transferred in a year. I want to buy my property there plus 2 investment properties. Boom. It's a referral from somebody else.
Wow.
And then by that equals three deals.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm more that's why my clients have been more on the buying side. But that has worked out pretty well so far.
But
That's
and with that, yeah, go ahead, Andres.
that is the same for me as well. I had someone from, I think they heard me on a podcast and they reached out and I got him a new build. He was like, "Oh, I don't know about this and that." And I asked him, "Well, at $500 deposit, what's the worst that can happen?" Because there's a new build, 3 beds, 2 baths, and I've sold plenty there. And he was like, "Okay, you know what? Just $500, we'll do it." 2 days later, the home's now worth 5K more, and he was like over the roof, super happy. He's now referred me to 7 other people. 7 people.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I wanted to ask that because of the market we're in, right? Is there's so much growth in Austin is attracting so many people to our city. And you're hearing again and again just how tough it is for buyers, and yet both of you are succeeding working with buyers at a really high level, right? You're finding ways to help them win in the market of today. And I love that you said, okay, $500, that's the risk. And then 2 days later, okay, boom, that price just went up $5,000. So now you just made $4,500. You're loving me now, right? And then and then there comes the 7 other people. But it's because of you guys playing to win. And you could have also not recommended that. It was his decision to do it, right? But you could have not recommended that, and then 2 days later he would have paid $5,000 more for that if he decided to go forward. So what I want you guys to hear is, how are you looking at every challenge you have? Because the market, I always say, this is a skill market right now, right? It's a skill, and you guys are obviously really sharpening your skills in this market. Think about when it's not this crazy, how much better you're going to be than everybody else, because you already are proving yourselves to be winning. Andres, that you have 21 pendings right now. You just completed your first year really of the residential side after doing leasing all through college. That's incredible. A lot of
Thank you.
agents don't have 21 pendings in a year. Most agents don't have 21 pendings in a year. Okay, let's just be real. Most agents don't have half of that. And I don't mean that in any kind of derogatory way. You're finding ways to win. So what advice, what have we not talked about that you think that it would be important for the group to know before we open it up for Q&A? Anything you guys want to mention about just either mindset or strategies you guys have used? What kind of what would you like to talk about?
I would just say that right now it's a time where I feel like you can eat that it is harder out there for sure. We have to put in a little bit more hours into it, but that is causing other people, other agents to quit or to slow down. So it's sort of like once we get over this hump, and of course we don't even know how long this is actually gonna go.
Right.
But I feel like by us doing the work right now, we will be even more rewarded in the future just based on the relationships that we've been building. If you focus on building those relationships right now, I feel like it will give you a lot of opportunity. And even from the perspective that, so for example, Andres was helping, we were helping somebody who was going to buy a home for like 1.2 million, and after submitting offers and offers and offers, he decided to rent instead, and that's totally fine. But they are going to be referring us to like 5 more families that are going to be coming from out of town. And sure, maybe he didn't buy, but he already told us, hey, next year I'm going to be buying something that's going to be 2 million or more. So it's sort of like by keeping those relationships, you never know what might happen. And it's just thinking a little bit more long term than the short term, which I feel people sometimes think too short term, and that is what doesn't give them the opportunity to succeed years down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. You're looking for, this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think people forget that. And what I love about what you guys are doing, and then Andres, I want to hear what you want to add to that. But all this buyer inventory, all these buyers you're putting in homes right now are sellers of tomorrow. Maybe, unless they
Mm-hmm.
hold them forever, right? But potential sellers of tomorrow. So think about what you're creating, how you're planting the seed. You talk about a pipeline, but what I'm hearing mostly is you guys just take care of people, and you don't make it about the money. And I love that so much, because I feel like that's how you get the highest return, is when you really make it about the people. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing. And it's like whatever's for them, whatever works best for them, that's what you want for them. But you're here to advise them and give them great strategies. Andres, what would you add to that?
I've already talked about it, but the miracle morning, I can't stress that enough. I think that's one of the main reasons, like for this success, and just for me being put in touch with Diego. It was like through visualizing having a great team, and then also through taking action. Obviously, you won't get anything unless you take action, but also visualizing law of attraction,
Yeah.
very real. That definitely helped me 100%. And then also narrowing down to two things that you'll be doing consistently. I i wanted to try cold calling because I was scared of it. Turns out I didn't like it after like 2 3 months. Then I was like, okay, you know what, well, through podcasts, through social media, and through my sphere, that's what I'll tap into, knowing my niche, who are my clients,
Right.
who's that avatar that I'll tailor my content to. And that helped me out a lot. So I'm
Right.
very, very consistent on social media.
Yeah. Yeah. You do a great job with that. Well, okay. The last thing before I ask question, as the question I like to, for other people. So think of your questions is, when do you know you're winning? I just love to finish with this before we open it up. When do you know you're winning?
I mean, for me, it's more if you're happy doing what you're doing, you're winning at the end of the day. I feel like, um, yeah, like if you're enjoying what you're doing, and you do it with heart, I feel like you are winning. Now, the monetary thing might come in later, but I feel like if you're putting in the seeds right now, knowing that the rewards will come later, you're winning.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. How about you, Andres? How do you know you're
That's
winning?
a good that's a good question. I feel like just whenever someone is just super happy with what I've helped them with, I love that. Just at the closing table, I love giving gifts like to my clients because it makes me even happier. So whenever they're like, you didn't have to, like, you've already helped with this and that, and I just really like seeing them smile and just appreciate that. It's like kind of the mindset shift of if I wouldn't have educated you, or if I wouldn't have been on this podcast and you wouldn't have known about this. So it's my job to be on as many podcasts as possible and
Yeah.
to educate anybody as much as possible on Instagram. Because if I'm not doing it, then I'm the reason that you weren't able to see this path of wealth. So I feel like that mindset shift has helped a lot, and that makes me very happy. So that's when I know I'm winning.
I
When
love
I'm
that.
on as much as possible so that people can know about these opportunities.
So is your main avenue for that Instagram?
It's Instagram is huge, and podcast and
Yeah.
Sphere. Yeah.
Do you have your own podcast, or are you just on other people's podcasts?
On other people's podcasts. This year I've been like on, I think like 14,
Wow.
around there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Diego, I know, Diego, do you have a podcast, or are you just on? Because
I'm on a lot of podcasts, like I've been in the past. I recently started my own called Rat Race to FI, Rat Race to Financial Independence. That one is more geared towards financial independence rather than let me tell you about the market. But at the end of the day, sharing your story, I feel like, and putting it out there is what has helped me grow a lot. And one of the things here that's important to in playing to win, I feel like um, I feel like if people are doing, when I say like doing what they enjoy, right? Like if they're enjoying what they're doing, it goes more to like, okay, Andres tried cold calling and he didn't like it, right? He didn't enjoy it. So
yeah,
he went and picked the other niche, like he went another route. He had multiple routes. He was doing open houses and stuff like that, right? But at the end of the day, picking your niche, real estate is very easy to just like have the squirrel syndrome where you pick one thing. Now I'm going to farm. Now I'm going to do open houses. I'm going to try cold calling. I'm going to get this application. And I feel like at the end of the day is picking one, going all in, but doing what you enjoy. Maybe it's based on your disc profile, or maybe it is based on what your zone. I'm reading the book right now, The Big Leap. Um, and it talks about the zone of incompetence, the zone of competence, zone of excellence, and the zone of genius, right? And I feel like maybe you're really good at something, but you're not the best. The zone of genius is where you're the best. So people should focus more in the zone of genius, but in the excellence, that's when people conform, because they're pretty good at it, right? Um, but at the end of the day, it's like choosing that zone of genius, and I feel like Andres has done that really well, and I've been applying that as well.
I love that. I love that. It's funny that you brought that up. I haven't heard of that book. I'll check it out. But I was with Mark King in a meeting a couple weeks ago, and I heard him say, like, putting people in their genius zone. So I wonder if he's referring to that. And I'm like, yeah, when we all work in our strength zone, genius zone, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're gifted at. And that's why I love strength finders and things like that, is like, find what you're really good at and become the very best at it. And especially if you love that, usually if you're good at it, you actually love it because you're having success with it too. Like, I know
Mhm.
my genius zone is making a difference with people. I love people, and that's where I'm energized. And that's why I've done what I do for 14 years, coming up August 1st, which is unheard of as a team leader. Like, the average team leader at Keller Williams is like 2 years, I think. And I know that about myself. And I know that every day, if I feel like I'm not making a difference, I'm not happy. But if I feel like I'm making some kind of impact, then I know I'm on the right track. But I'm not going to go create, I have no engineer mind. I would never try to, like, put a car together or something like that. I'd be so frustrated. But I think if everyone could live in their strength zone, how great would we be? Then we'd all be playing to win. And I think you guys are such a great example of, you're so in your zones of what you're really good at, what you're really passionate about. And that's why you're so inspiring. And I just love being in business with you guys. You're just amazing. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
That was great.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
All right, let's see if our audience has any questions for us today. What you guys got? What would you like to, Shauna? Thank you, dear. What you got?
So, as I'm on the podcast, whenever you get on other people's podcasts, like, what is it specifically that you target about talking? Like, what is it that you incorporate in your conversation to help put you out there as an agent that's wanting to help and be there with a guiding hand?
Yeah. one of the things that I would recommend is like everybody has a story, right? So I feel like if you share, if you're coming from the story that you want to provide as much value as possible to the audience based on your story, based on your experience, and also talk about maybe like it doesn't have to, so when I go on a real estate podcast, it is like I may not be talking about the market particularly right now, but it's me showing, hey, I've been able to build what I've been able to build despite the obstacles, despite the challenges, and here's how other people can do it too. And sharing on that story to inspire others to take action, I feel like that is what has helped me. Andres, what would you say?
Definitely say it's very much so what type of podcast it is, but the thing is, we touched on this, facts tell, stories sell. What is relatable? So I'm always, whenever I was doing podcasts at first, when I say at first, it's like the first ones I did, which I was very nervous. Something like saying I was very nervous right now, maybe people can relate. Oh, my first podcast, I was very nervous. This is something relatable. So a story to where I was 19 and I didn't want my parents to pay for college. I figured out a way for them to pay for college. I always touch on, I didn't know what I was going to do. I graduated with international business and a certificate in real estate, and I still wasn't sure until I graduated. So it's like, oh, me too. I don't know what I am going to do. I can relate to this person right away. I feel the trust kind of with this person. And then from there, I wanted a mentor. What did I do? I reached out and I kept reaching out. Oh, maybe you're looking for a mentor, Shauna. How can you relate? Because it's the same thing. So it's always making it relatable. It's not necessarily talking about the market because that might be boring. It's more so what is the story and how is it relatable?
Yeah, and it can,
So
and sometimes it doesn't have to be your own story. It can be stories from other clients too that you have helped. Maybe um, share on like, hey, I put 5 homes under contract in a month or whatever, and this is how I did it. Here's how I can help your audience that way. Um, yeah, but sharing those stories and being relatable definitely helps.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Shauna, any other questions for them on this?
No, it just so it's I mean it's I told Melanie yesterday because we watched one of Logan's videos and I told her I feel like a lot of inspiration that comes to the newer clients is watching the testimony being expressed through other agents that have suffered and been through to show. And I think it helps a lot of the agents. So that's why I was asking, asking them that, of course, so it is living through testimony, explaining through testimony of not only yours, but others that
Yeah,
have
100%.
excelled.
I love that. Andres, did you say facts tell, stories sell? I couldn't write it down fast enough.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great quote. Okay, Susan, what you got?
Well, for Andres, I really, both of you, I loved your stories. I'm a new agent, even though I have gray hair. I've been an agent since February. I just got my first listing.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
That is
Awesome.
Yeah, and I even had a realtor call me this morning and say, I'm really interested in your house. Can you send me more information about the pool in your area? And I'm like, you bet. And so I sent that off. So I'm excited. I'm more excited for my neighbor whose house it is that I'm selling because he wants to retire and move to Georgia. So he's ready to go, and I hope that I can help him. But my question I have is that since I'm new, I don't have a lot of strategies for with builders, and I would like to create that strategy. Can you give me some particulars of what you did to build confidence with builders?
I'd say it's really just active listening. I mean, whenever there's a conversation being had with somebody, is asking those genuine, like, when, where, what questions. And sometimes with a why, it's kind of a defensive mechanism. Whenever someone asks a why, it's kind of a defensive. So it's a when, where, what question, active listening. Whenever you're responding, you relate, and then ask another question, maybe, not just asking questions after question. I feel like relating to them and really knowing kind of what they like. I can tell you from the builders that I've worked with, I really know them. I know where they were from, what football teams they support. And like I give them gifts and whatnot, and I'm in conversation with them. Sometimes I'm even asking that, how'd your trip go? This and that. It's not just about real estate. So it's crazy. It's just a genuine conversations. It's not really anything that stands out as much, but in this market, there can be some agents that treat them poorly, unfortunately. And it's knowing that it's not them that are setting commissions. It's the people, that are higher up. So genuine conversations, being present and mindful.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would add too is, what I would recommend is to have an appointment with them at the model home. I feel like on the phone is fine, but if you can go and tour the model homes, check out what's their inventory right now,
Yes.
you can build a better relationship that way.
Yes, in person. Yeah, not on the phone. I should have mentioned that. But yeah, in
Yeah.
person, setting up an appointment. Like you said, you're newer, so set up appointments with all the builders and then just get to know them in person so they can put a face to the name. A lot of people just do the calls, so
Yeah.
you can stand out by going in person.
Well, and don't you want to learn the inventory anyway, right? Like that's a
Exactly.
perfect thing, Susan, to go. And that's something I did as a new agent too, is I went to every new home community because I wanted to meet everybody and I wanted to know what was up there. And I wanted that floor plan because I knew at some point they're going to sell out and I'm going to sell those houses in that neighborhood. And I wanted to have all the goodies, right? So
Right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
and I
Yes,
love
for
that,
sure.
Andres, that you're coming from kindness, right? And because you're right, they're not doing that, right? That they have a company that's making those decisions, not the person that has the job that's there to just do their job. So that's a really good point. Sharmila, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Great session, by the way. So my question is, when you work with your buyers who also happen to be investors, how do you handle, post the purchase? A lot of times they would need the place to be fixed up before it's leased. Do you help them lease? Do you help them with getting everything ready to put on the market? How do you handle, because that's a lot of work, and it's something that I'm in a situation where I'm just wondering, I work with a lot of investors, but I'm finding myself getting really, really bogged down by everything that happens after the sale has happened.
Yeah, I have learned that too. What I do is I tell them that I cannot handle the, like, because I am not a property manager. I'm a salesperson. I tell them I don't have, I cannot be a property manager at all. So I connect them with two right off the bat as soon as we're under contract. And then they're setting the right expectations with what happens. I might schedule out a cleaner to come out after closing on my own, but that's as much as I would go. As much as I would go. Now, there's been times where I told the buyer, like, if you do not want to, because sometimes, for example, the property is like from 2019. It was like a brand new property. He's like, do I need a property manager? And I was like, probably not right now, because it is, and it might have come with another tenant in place or whatever. But in this case, I helped them. I put the home on the market for rent, help them find a tenant, and then he's handling everything else. But the other ones I did do an introduction with two property managers. I think it's Stone Oak Management, that it used to be Tree Homes, or Stone Oak bought Tree Homes. I
Yeah.
really like them. And then Austin Investors. That's another one that.
What is it, Austin?
Austin Investors. Yeah,
Right.
they both charge like 7%, I think.
Yeah.
And I really like them both. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And then of course, Lisa Kossep has a one that you could kind of shop around, right?
Oh,
She's
nice.
Her Merit Properties, they're right in the corner of this building. So they're in here. She's got a whole separate owned property management company right here in the office. So That's
Cool.
another opportunity. She's really cool.
Cool.
Sharmila, she does it. I get great reviews. They handle a lot of properties, but I love that it's leverage, right? It's about getting it off of you because that is time consuming, Sharmila,
Mhm.
right? It is time, and you do work with a lot of investors. And I think it
Yeah.
comes down to, like Diego said, is like, do they want to manage it themselves? Then you'll throw it on for a lease and help them find the client, the tenant, but that's it, right? And then maybe do a cleaning or whatever. But if they want it managed, then man, get that off your plate. So I guess it would be, what do your clients want to do? And that might help you get that off of you.
Yeah, it's just sometimes when you work with out of town buyers, and most of my investors are in California because I used to live there, so I have a lot of contacts.
Yeah.
And I find myself in this situation where, do I say yes? Do I say no? And it's, of course, I'm not going to manage it on an ongoing basis, but until you put it on the market for lease, there may be few things which may become bigger than what you thought. The AC is not working, the painting needs to be done, blah, blah, blah. And, I just kind of have been doing it just to provide good customer service. But I've kind of wondered, if that's the most efficient way of managing my transaction and time.
Go ahead, Theo.
Oh, the last thing that I was going to say was I try to educate my investors that, look, I do not have the processes in place to make sure that everything runs smooth. And then I told them, I was like, look, if you speak to both of these companies and you do not think that the 7% is worth everything they're offering, let's have a conversation. But both of the times, it happened that they said yes, because then they asked me, oh, do you offer this or that? I'm like, no, the max that I can do is I can get your house rented and I can give you a list of contractors. You have to handle the rest.
Okay.
Andres, what were you going to add to that?
I don't have experience with that, but I did read a book called Essentialism that's saying yes to the few things that align with your goals and no to everything else. As bad as it sounds, I really needed that because I said yes to a lot of things like leasing. And now it's like, look, leasing doesn't align with my goals and I can be far more productive by doing this. Because if I say yes to something, I need to do 100% my best job possible. So I know that at leasing right now, I'm not going to do my best job because my focus is on sales and helping buyers and sellers.
Yeah, and
So
if you're
that
saying
book,
yes to that, you're saying no to something else, right?
exactly. That book, Essentialism, is awesome. That helped me a lot. Still
Awesome.
working on it. It
Yeah.
has helped me.
I
What's
love
the
that.
name of the book?
Essentialism.
Essentialism. And Sharmila, Sharmila's at a point where she's looking to like leverage some of that stuff, and that could be one of the things that you're leveraging off your plate, right? So awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And oh my gosh, Diego, Andres, you guys are amazing. I love when you walk past me, the energy that you guys have. It's just an honor to be on this journey with you. And thank you for playing to win every day and for sharing your story a little bit with the world today.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Really appreciate you. You're awesome. Seriously. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
so much fun. See you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for being here.